Hi, Lisa here. Well, in honoring my pledge to tell you my experience about having a life coach, I wanted to let you know that I did have my second session with Mary yesterday, and we spent about 55 minutes on the telephone. We went over some of the things that I had committed to doing earlier in the week, which included filling out my spiritual gifts assessment, a needs and values statement, and just some different things like that. I also talked a little bit about what I hope my family would look like in 10 years, things like that. I had written down on a paper for her to look at in advance, which she did, and she asked me some questions. This is kind of one of those odd things because I don't want to reveal too much, and I don't want to cross privacy lines between myself and other people in my life. At the same time, I want to give you a little bit of an understanding about what this experience is like. So I can tell you that it has been an emotional week in some ways. My family has been going through a crisis, to be honest with you, and it's not something I've shared publicly, but it has put us all on a little bit of a roller coaster ride, and I really believe it was God's timing, ironically, that I started this life coaching thing in the midst of this, because it was back in June when I actually chose the date in October to start the life coaching process. So I know that it was God's timing, and yet at the same time, it has given me both the freedom and the burden of actually having to release and take a closer look at some of my emotions, some of my goals, some of my desires. I am one of those people who don't tend to focus a lot on my illness. I don't talk about it a lot because I've always been fearful of crossing over into an area where I would dwell on it too much and possibly open myself up to becoming depressed or just being non-productive. I've always wanted to do something with my illness, and so rather than thinking about how bad the pain is, I tend to instead write an article about it that could go on my blog or something, and eventually encourage someone, I hope, so that my experience goes beyond me. But what happens is I tend to shut down all my emotions, and one of the things I know that is not normal is the year I had the flesh-eating bacteria a couple years ago. I was in the hospital for the first time in my life, actually, and I was there for 8 days, and I never shed a tear during that entire week, and not for about 3 weeks afterwards, because I knew that if I started to cry, it would open the floodgates. And in fact, yesterday, I had a very emotional day, and morning and night, was up all night and was flaring really badly. And instead of just kind of allowing myself to keep my PJs on in the morning and stuff, I sat there for about 30 minutes, and then I decided to get completely dressed so I looked presentable and do as I had planned, which was to create some videos for the Rest Ministries website. And my eyes actually were even a little puffy because of some unusual and more frequent tears, and yet I just couldn't sit there longer than 30 minutes and think about how I was going to let my illness ruin my day. I was determined to control it. So, to be honest, I may not be the best example in how to cope effectively, but just like most of you, this is a learning process for me, and there are things that I still grieve, like the loss of the use of my hands in the way that I would like. I am disappointed in my joint replacement surgery with my hands. Needless to say, there is a lot of pain still in my joints, although they said, oh, new silicone joints don't have pain. Your nerves grow around those silicone joints, and there is pain. There's a lot of those little things that still, I still grieve and I still deal with, but I don't really let them come to the surface. So in conclusion, I would say I know this is helpful. I am to that point where I know that this is the next level of depth that I believe God is taking me through in order to create more character and hopefully some wisdom in there somewhere, and I hope it will create more depth in my ministry and my ability to minister to you all as you minister to me in the depth of your suffering. So, the hardest part is We all want the testimony, and we can even see and hope for the future that God has a testimony, but I really don't like going through the test. And it's slow, and it's burdensome, and it's time consuming, and it's emotional. So I think that surrendering that over to God to say, here I am, take me as I am, and I'm not perfect, but I'm here, and I'm showing up for you, Lord, I think is probably the next step where I'm at right now. So thanks for taking this journey with me, and I look forward to hearing any feedback you have about anything I've talked about or something on your mind. And if you are considering getting a life coach, I'd love to hear your experience as well. So, all right. Be sure to visit our website at restministries.com, and you can connect with me there on a daily basis through our writers who do daily devotionals and more videos and all kinds of things. So, God bless you.